Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies and talk about them. With me, as always, is the Michelangelo to my Donatello, Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn. How are you doing, Kyle?
Cowabunga, dude.
Yes, thank
Or
you.
wait, which Michelangelo are you talking about?
Whichever one you want it to be.
I'm doing okay. And tonight's episode is brought to you by Sainsbury's because we carry all your late night needs, including naked women in aisle 3.
Aisle 3, yep, that's the naked ladies aisle. Everyone knows that.
Speaking of naked ladies in aisle 3, what did we watch tonight?
We watched the 2007 film Cashback, which I had never heard of, but I had seen the cover.
Yes. Top down, cashback across the boobs. The cover.
Yep.
Yeah, this was released in festivals in 2006 and then wide released in 2007. But this started out as a short in 2004, and he actually took. I think I read that he took like 7 days to expand it. When there was interest to do feature length, and he took like 7 days to write a script to like expand it out to feature length, and they shot it fairly quickly because all 18 minutes of the short are actually in the movie because all the same actors came back, so they could use a lot of the same scenes from the original short. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they didn't even there were scenes that they didn't even have to reshoot for the feature length because everyone came back for it.
Oh, that's nice, but also that I can see that. I don't know, only taking 7 days to expand it. I can also see that this movie felt like a long set, even though it's under 2 hours for me.
Oh, it felt a little long.
Yes.
Yeah, I think my issue with it was it felt like a few different movies.
It also felt like it forgot about the plot.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going with the few different movies because okay, so let's get the basic snowball pitch out of the way here. I'm gonna go for this one. Guy breaks up with his girlfriend, gets depressed, can't sleep, get late night job, finds a bunch of slackers there, and moves on with his life.
Yep, man can't sleep, starts to spend time in his own interior world. Imagination goes wild, and then he remembers that he has to be a real boy.
I'm a real boy.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's. Okay, we got to get into this. We've got. There's some scenes I want to talk about in this.
Yep.
So this starts out with him arguing with his girlfriend, and he's just kind of watching her lips move but not paying attention. Then we find out he's the one that broke up with her because he's like, "I can't make you happy." It was one of those breakups. I'm like, dude, I don't want to follow you. You're the one who broke up with her. Things were fine, but I like how she throws a cup and breaks it against his head when he breaks up with her. I was like, Jiminy. Then she throws a lamp, but we don't see that hit him.
Yeah, well, when we see the lamp appear in a later scene, so it survives the breakup. That's good.
But this leads him to he's in art school or something. Was it like some college or something?
Like
He's in
senior year
art
of art
school.
school.
Yeah, and this leads him to he's doing his classes during the day, but then he can't sleep at night because he's broken up with his girlfriend, and so time seems to slow down for him because it's like, oh, he's awake 24/7 now. That's the thing I'm going into this movie, like they say he basically didn't sleep for 4 weeks. I'm going, would you be dead or completely like utterly crazy by that point?
I mean, maybe a little crazy, but you
I
can
don't
go
think your
for a
body can
long
sustain
time
staying
without
awake
sleep.
24/7 for 4 weeks. I would like to look up the record for number of hours awake.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so basically he can't sleep. So he does art school during the day, and then he finds a job at an all night, I don't know, what was it, grocery store, I guess, called
Yeah.
Sainsbury's. And there he finds some wacky employees, kind of like it almost had one of those like Empire Records type feel where it's like a bunch of, or clerks, just a bunch of slackers working at a store and goofing off.
Yeah, it almost felt like should have been because of that. It almost felt like it was like missed the 90s by about 5 years.
Right, right. That was actually my favorite part of the movie, and I'm wondering if that's the stuff that was added in when he made it feature length and did more with the side characters, because the side characters were my favorite bit. Because you had Sharon, who was the main girl who eventually becomes his new love interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, okay, Susie was his ex, but then their boss is Jenkins, and he's kind of like this loser guy who thinks he's really cool, and then he's kind of sleazy too, like hitting on Sharon and patting her ass, and then at a party, like saying, "Hey, you want to go up and have sex with me?" It's like, you're my boss, dude.
Yeah, he's
And
basically like feels like he's a character out of The Office.
yeah, and then you have Barry and Matt who are my favorites because they're the two like complete idiots at the store
They're
that
the
just
shenanigans guys.
yeah, they're the shenanigans guys and just doing all sorts of stuff that would just get you in all sorts of trouble at the store. Scooter races and throwing milk cartons and what else did they do? I don't know, but I was kind of sad that later they introduced and didn't have him in as much. This guy that like knows karate or whatever, and he was just this weird guy who would just keep doing karate poses. And then I loved the scene where he brings him over, and it's either Matt or Barry, one of the two is like, so Ben tells us, Ben, that's the main character. He tells us, you know karate. He goes, yeah. You think you could take us? Yeah. And then they start laughing at him. He goes, here, hold my arm. The guy and then Barry or Matt holds his arm and he just slaps him in the face.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
that, that was my favorite scene in the movie. Just the slap and he walks away. So,
I suppose we should talk about the main gimmick of this film.
I know
At
I
least
kind of went off on a tangent like the movie did.
yeah. Anyway, so because he can't sleep, he talks about having to try and, do what you can to survive 8 hours of an overnight job. And, I've been there. I worked overnight for 5 years. I get it. Our part of it is just to help trying to get past the time when you're just not doing anything.
Right.
And with what he does, I guess, is he kind of lets his mind wander. So then in his brain, I don't know if it's actually happening, it's like he can make time stop and then kind of wander around, look at things. Because he's an artist, he likes to, pose people, put them in sketches. And I guess the main scene is that he goes around in this aisle and there just happens to be like 3 or 4 good looking young ladies in there. So he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what any person would do is I'm going to expose their boobies.
Right. Because also that's when all the attractive 20 something women shop is at like 2 or 3 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
apparently.
Yep.
And they're the only ones in the store, other than one of them was with her boyfriend or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
See, this whole thing is what got me, because at first I was like, okay, so because he goes through and he talks about how Sharon sits at the register and she covers up the time on her watch and she puts a box up so she can't see the clock because she's like, the more you stare at the clock, the longer the time seems to take, which that is a true feeling like that. I can relate to that from jobs I've had. And then he's like, oh, Matt and Barry, they pass the time and they make the time go by just getting into shenanigans and, sitting at the meat counter pretending that a giant sausage is their penis. And like you do when you're 20 something and working behind the meat counter. But those are all like real world things to deal with making the time go faster. But like I didn't get his because it's like, oh, I can slow down time. I'm going, well, if you're stopping time, then isn't that just making everything last longer? But also the first half of the movie I was going, yeah, but the first half of the movie I was going, is this actually real? Because I was thinking, oh, he's pretending time is slowed down, but in reality, like while he's slowing it down in his mind, everything's still going at normal speed.
Yeah.
But the last half of the movie implies that he really actually has this power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I have a problem, because if he really has this power, when it was just his imagination and he's imagining these girls naked, I'm sorry, lots of guys have done that. They see a girl and imagine her naked. You deny it, I'm going to call you a liar. But when you go and imply that he actually has this power and then he goes and actually undresses them, draws them, and puts their clothes back on, I'm going, that's kind of pervy.
That's very pervy.
That's beyond wrong. I'm going, so if this power is real, then that scene just became, when I thought it was just imaginary, I was like, okay, I can let this slide, whatever. But when the second half of the movie came, I go, wait a minute, back it up a little. That means if that scene was real, he was really undressing all of these women without their consent.
Yeah,
So
that makes it a lot creepier.
yeah, because this whole movie is thinks it's being profound on its take on, "Oh, I just love the beauty of women and blah, blah, blah." I'm going, "This director just wants to see a lot of naked women on his film because he
And
was
you know,
trying to
that's
do it."
fair enough.
Yeah, he was trying to do it artfully, but I'm going, "You're still, like, exploiting them." You could have done it where you didn't actually show it on film
Mhm.
and worked around if you were talking about just how you appreciate the beauty of women. So I don't know. Like that whole aspect of the film, which is the main part of the film, kind of bothered me a little.
Like, if you wanna write a sex comedy, just make a sex comedy.
Yeah. So I liked his relationship with the new girl at the register, Sharon. I thought that was fine. And I liked his relation. I liked his interactions and I liked the interactions of all the people at the store. That's what I actually liked about this movie was the clerks Empire Records aspect of it.
Yeah, I just felt like they should have done more with the stop time aspect. Doesn't necessarily need to be explained, but I thought it'd be interesting. Like, if he does that, he's in that world, and he comes back, cracks his fingers, and then he realizes like he's losing time the more he does that. Like, he thinks he's only in there for 5 minutes, but it's been hours,
Well,
then
because
maybe
there's
a
the
whole day.
yeah, there's the end where, so he does like this girl, and then so they go to a party at the end of the movie, and he's at the top of the stairs, and you have the classic scene where the ex is at the party too, because his new boss just happens to be his ex's boyfriend's younger brother. So just coincidentally. So they end up at the same party together, and he goes with the new girl, but then the ex sees him with the new girl, and it's like, "Oh, I want you back," and kisses him at the top of the stairs. And of course, the new girl sees it from the bottom of the stairs and walks out. Well, he freezes time as she's walking out. And it even says in narration that he froze time for 2 full days. So, like, he aged 2 days. And I may have just been imagining it, but I think they had like they cut to him with like a 5 o'clock shadow after these 2 days to imply that he really did spend those 2 days just standing there. And then he snaps back and she still leaves out the door because his whole thing was, I can pause time but I can't go back and rewind it and correct a mistake I made.
Yeah, so I thought maybe that'd be kind of interesting, but or at least I don't know if you could use that power, like rob a bank or do something interesting. I don't know,
Right.
save
Cuz
someone
yeah,
from a car crash.
because the only thing it comes around to is at the very end when so Matt and Barry play a prank on him because he's an artist and they call him pretending to be this art studio owner and saying, "Oh, I saw your art as a student and I want to see more of your art and maybe do a show." And so he goes and then the guy's like, "I've never even heard of you, but let me look at your art anyway." So he ends up getting a show anyway. So the prank backfired in a good way for Ben. And then all of his drawings are of the new girl Sharon. So she finds out she gets invited to the gallery and sees that, oh, he drew all these pictures. And instead of being kind of like, usually when you watch movies like this with girls are like, oh my God, he's a stalker. She goes, oh, these pictures say more than you could ever say in words. I understand that you love me now.
Yeah, this was like 2, 3 steps away from Fatal Attraction.
Right, right. Whereas, like anybody I've ever talked to, I just have the impression that they'd be like, that's kind of creepy that he's been drawing pictures of her this whole time without her knowing."
Yeah,
And
so I
some of
like to
them were with
imagine
the blouse open.
she goes to the art gallery show, and then like there's this slow moment where like she realizes that's a picture of me, that's a picture of me, and then she goes to the entire gallery and realizes they're all pictures of her. Camera gets really close, and then she freaks out, finds out that like Ben is a serial killer or something. I don't know, because that's what it felt like it should have been.
Right. Because he had hundreds of these drawings. But then she's like, "Oh, you do love me because you've been drawing pictures of me this whole time." And then there was one time after a soccer game, which we haven't talked about, where he paused time and realized someone else was in there who could also go into the paused time world. And it's like that seemed really random. Who was this
Yeah,
guy?
that
And
was dropped.
yeah, and that was just like that was only in there to imply that, oh, that's when I figured out I could maybe bring her into it. And it was like that was so random.
Hmm.
But so at the end of the movie, he goes, "Oh, come here for a second," and he kisses her, and then time stops, but they don't. And then they walk out into the snow, and the snowflakes are just standing in air or like still in the air. And then they're like, "Yay, happily ever after."
The end. Yeah, it was very unsatisfying. The whole time stopping aspect just made me want to go back and reread Sex Criminals. Have you ever read that comic?
No.
All right, so basically, it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy where basically there's this couple who finds out that when they climax, they can stop time for like 20 minutes or so. Then like his penis glows, and so his penis counts as like a timer, and then when it stops glowing, time catches up again. So they decide that they're gonna just start robbing banks, and then they find out that like other people can do it too, and those other people are trying to be like the police to stop them from robbing banks. It gets very silly.
That's awesome.
It's really good.
So, one last thing that we didn't mention was there is a whole thing where every time we go into a new portion of the movie, we get a flashback into his childhood and another example of his encounters with the female form, which I think is just like he keeps narrating that this is how I found the beauty in women, which is a great thing to like find is just like, that women are beautiful. Like and not just like appearance. I think they're trying to imply like, I just find them intriguing and beautiful. And that's
Yeah,
fine.
it's such a straight man movie.
Yeah, but like one of them is when he was a kid, there was a Swedish exchange student living in their house that because she's Swedish, she just walks naked from the shower to the bedroom all the time. I'm like, okay. And
Oh yeah,
then
everyone knows that well-known Swedish fact.
yes, they all walk around naked. They are not ashamed of their bodies. I don't know. I've never been to Sweden.
Neither have I.
And then my favorite childhood memory, he has a best friend named Sean who doesn't work at the store. This is just his friend in general. And I like this character because he sucks with the women but thinks he's good. And so like you see drinks and water and stuff splash in his face about 50 times in this movie and it's great every time. But there's one flashback where it's him and Sean discover Sean's parents' nudie magazines. And I loved this scene because the mom comes back into the house because she left and he's like, oh, I got to show you this. And they go and look at him. And so that they run out of the room when they hear the mom coming back and stand innocently in the kitchen like, do, I wasn't doing anything. And the mom looks down and goes, what have you guys been doing? And then he just narrates, she just thought we were gay the rest of our lives. And then it pans down to the both of them have boners.
That was dumb, but it was funny.
It was so stupid, but I thought it was kind of. She just thought we were gay for the rest of our lives. It's just like what? Well, and then you had the third flashback where there was a girl that would flash her nether regions to boys for money, and then she ends up a stripper, of course, as an adult because
Ha ha ha.
yeah. So I don't yeah. All of the stuff that this movie was trying to say was the stuff I didn't like. I guess that's coming down to would you recommend this movie or not?
No. Just skip it for me.
I am probably going to say skip it too. There's some stuff I like about it, but like I said, it's not the main stuff of the movie that I liked. So I kind of feel like you can find that stuff in better movies. So I really think, yeah, I'm just going to say it's a skip it for me. I didn't hate watching it, but I also was like, there's a lot of little issues I have with this movie, and I don't think I'll ever watch it again. So,
Yeah, same with me. All
so that
right,
being
so
said,
we got to talk about a double feature in this case. So, what you want to watch instead? So, I guess I'll go first. If you want a movie about like young people in relationships that plays around with time, I guess I'd recommend 500 Days of Summer, because that's constantly jumping back and forth and has some interesting visual tricks up its sleeve as well about a relationship.
I still have yet to see that one, so I would like to watch that one. So I'll have to put that on my list. Me instead of watching this movie, I'm going to go with another film that is a romantic drama that deals with a guy who can manipulate time and space in a different way, but still like kind of that same concept of being able to. It's a romantic drama and deals with manipulating time, and that's the near perfect romantic drama about time with Donald Gleason and Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, but what's the movie called?
It's about time you watch it.
Yeah, but okay, then what's the name of the movie? Ha ha ha.
No, this movie is this is one of those near perfect movies. I just absolutely love it. And this is one where a lot of things that I had a problem with Cashback is the character of Ben. Like I said, the fact that he's using this power of his to strip down women unknowingly and draw them. I'm like, if they volunteer for an art class nude, that's
Yeah, that's
fine.
completely different.
But when you're doing it yourself, and then his mopey, I can't sleep for 2 weeks because I broke up with my girlfriend. I'm going, okay, yeah, you're depressed. Get over it. Like anybody who gets broken up with goes, I don't know. I didn't like a lot of his decisions.
I say he was about 2 steps away from starting a fight club.
Right. That would have been interesting.
And then I
But
met this guy named Tyler Durden.
But the movie About Time, there are so many things that, like, when you're watching it and you see Donald Gleason go back in time, sometimes you all like there are times when you think, oh, you're gonna do this for all the wrong reasons. And every time he uses his power, it is for all the right reasons, and he just wants things to be better for other people, and he's always trying to help other people. And so that's what makes it such a great movie, is that it does work out in the end, but also like he makes mistakes, and instead of correcting it for himself, he tries to correct stuff for other people. And so yeah, that leads to other things happening that kind of suck. But there's just that movie's just it's near perfect.
So what you're saying is that his mission is that he leaps from life to life, putting things right that once went wrong,
Yes.
and his only friend is a hologram named Al and a supercomputer named Ziggy.
With a little computer that looks like a calculator that goes beep 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 beep
Yep.
and opens a doorway.
It's like, oh boy.
Oh boy. I used to watch that show all the time. Yeah, so my recommendation is About Time.
All right, solid pick. So I guess now we move on to, at least, what are we gonna do next? We got to spin the magic wheel.
It's about time to spin the wheel. All right, let's go to the movie wheel here. Go score 70 or better and spin it. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can get it from this description. Historian races to find the legendary Templar treasure before a team of mercenaries.
Oh, gee. Say a Templar treasure, you said.
Yes.
Oh, I think this is bigger than just it's not just like a regional treasure. I'm going to say this whole thing was like a national treasure.
It is Nicolas Cage, the national treasure.
Nice. A national treasure starring a national treasure.
Yes. I like this movie, so this one would be a fun one to talk about.
Yes.
2004's National Treasure. We can find this. You can find this streaming on Disney Plus. So we will be talking about National Treasure. You know what? I want to watch these two movies again anyway because I kind of want to check out the series on Disney Plus. So next time will be National Treasure, and until then, you can find us online. I'm on Twitter at AwesomeKM.
You can find me at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled Satern.
And we're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. And you can email us, we don't know what to watch at gmail.com. Send us an email and let us know what you think, or comment below, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And until next time, if you're going to freeze time, please don't strip down the ladies without their consent.
Yeah, if you're going to freeze time, rob a bank.
Commit other crimes.
Yeah. That's my advice.